Well, we need to find out what powers we have and how we can exercise them. We obviously think the Senate as it presently exists is unacceptable to Canadians. That is why they are calling for reform or abolition. We've gone to the top court in the land to get a how-to guide on reforming our Senate to fix these problems and potentially abolishing it if reform doesn't work.
I think this is the biggest pain in the butt for the Harper government right now, is that they want to do something about the Senate, but before this scandal broke, they'd sent a reference to the Supreme Court, and they're waiting for the court to rule on what can be done and how it must be done in relation to either reforming or scrapping the Senate based on the Constitution and how much say the provinces have to say. Is this a scandal that's hurting the Conservatives? No doubt. Ray Hurd might be rubbing his hands over that. He's a former Liberal strategist, former journalist, former lots of things, and now a pundit here on Sun News. Ray, this thing's sticking in a way that I didn't think it would have a while ago, but it really is bugging Canadians.
Well, basically, this scandal, which is a big scandal, not as big as the Ontario gas scandal, but it's big, this has legs. The Auditor General is going to do an audit, not a forensic one, but an audit. That could take a year, 18 months.
That's just going to keep the story alive.
Yeah. So basically, when Harper looks at his future, he has to figure that this story with the court, and the courts are notoriously slow, and the Auditor General could still be on a few months before the next election.
Here's the question, though. Is Tom Mulcair the big winner? Because the Auditor General, you're right, is going to come in, do an audit. Now, when I heard that, I thought, oh, one of these value for money audits, and they don't dig deep enough. But he says he has authority to go in and check claim by claim.
Well, if he does...
If he does that, that could hurt the Liberals as well, because I don't think this is constrained to just these 4 senators. I think the Liberals are going to have a problem on their hands, and then Mulcair will be sitting there saying, ha, we have no senators, and we want to get rid of them all.
That. Justin Trudeau is the only politician who supports the Senate, because as you'll recall, he doesn't want Quebec to lose its unfair share of Senate seats. This is bad news for Justin. And let's remember, it's not just 3 Harper-appointed senators in big trouble. Senator Raymond Levine is in jail for misappropriating 25 grand, which is chicken feed compared to Pamela Wallin. So and Mac Harb, one of the most unpleasant members of Parliament I've ever met, and a senator, he's in big trouble too. So this is, both parties are in deep trouble.
Okay, so where does it go then? We're going to just see dripping of information over the next 18 months as Auditor General Michael Ferguson does his study and the courts. I think Harper's trying to get out in front of it, but is he going to be able to if there's all these new revelations? The
clock, as I said, is running against him. But just to be facetious now, because I love to be facetious, maybe the Auditor General will find problems with all senators, and they'll all have to quit, and we won't have a Senate.
By the day I'm coming closer to that position, although I prefer it elected. You've got an interesting story from your days working with John Turner related to Pamela Wallin. Give us the short version of this one.
I'll give you the short version. And let me say first that Pamela Wallin this week was a bigger story in columns and news than any story she ever covered as a journalist. On the day that this thing broke, it was huge. Here's the story, and it's kind of funny, and it's revealing, and I think it's human. John Turner had a garden party when he was leader of the opposition before the election. There was a thunderstorm. Pam arrived in a cab. She may have been with Mike Duffy, I'm not sure. And she took off her green pump shoes and went under the tent barefoot. And Turner saw her shoes and he said, "Oh, Pam, those are great green pumps. I wonder how many beds they've been under."
I can't imagine a politician saying that to a journalist today.
He was joking, and she didn't take it that well. Fast forward several months, I had reason to warn him that when he went on question period with her as the host, she would raise the question of his drinking. And I said, "John, if she or anyone else asks you about your drinking, say, who is accusing me of drinking? You name the source. I do not respond to kind of anonymous questions." Pam gave him about 3 minutes Notice she asked the question, some people say you have a drinking problem. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, on a Friday night, I enjoy a few drinks, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying who makes the allegation. And it was a huge story, one of her biggest stories the next day, because CTV spun the story with the print media. And the headline is the worst headline you can ever have. Turner denies he had a drinking problem. I think Chrétien's thugs were the ones who set her up, but I don't have hard evidence.
You know, I have to say, compare that to Rob Ford earlier this week. Video of him staggering around. And what did he do? He went on radio and said, hey, I had a couple of beers. And people seem to be saying, all right, I have a couple of beers now and then.
To be fair, I survived with Turner longer than anyone else probably, and that's not very long. I never saw John Turner drunk. He used to sometimes have 3 glasses of red wine. I was more concerned about him eating so much red meat. It wasn't the red wine. I was worried about the red meat affecting him. But,
we'll have to leave that there.
That was her great big story, was Turner and drinking before
and today the big story is herself, and she probably should have known better. She's a bigger story than any story she covered. All right, Ray, good talking as always.
Thank you, Brian.
Ray Hurd, everyone. Well, share your thoughts on this. Email me, byline@sunmedia.ca.